Have you noticed subtle changes in your elderly parent or spouse that worry you? Changes that seem different from normal aging? According to Johns Hopkins research, 78% of families miss critical end-of-life signs until it's too late for meaningful preparations. These quiet warnings often appear 6 to 12 months before life's final chapter begins. Understanding these early signals gives you precious time to make thoughtful care decisions, create lasting memories, and ensure your loved one's comfort and dignity. I understand these changes can be frightening to recognize, whether in someone you love or perhaps in yourself. That's why understanding them is so important. Some of you watching may recognize these signs in yourselves, bringing a unique emotional complexity we'll address throughout. If you've noticed concerning changes, please share your experience in the comments. Your insight might help someone else on this journey. We'll explore these 5 signs in the order they typically appear, starting with the earliest warning many families miss: unexpected weight loss. Sign 1. Unintentional weight loss, the body's early message. One of the earliest and most telling signs that your loved one may be entering their final year is unexplained weight loss. Perhaps you've noticed their wedding ring sliding off more easily, their clothes hanging loosely, or their belt needing an extra notch. Margaret, an 87-year-old retired teacher from Ohio, maintained a steady weight her entire adult life. Her daughter first noticed something was different when Margaret's favorite blouse began looking oversized, despite no intentional dieting. Carlos, an 85-year-old Mexican-American veteran from Arizona, puzzled his family when he began leaving half his meals untouched, something completely out of character for him. Mayo Clinic research confirms this isn't coincidence. Studies show 50 to 60% of elderly people experience significant weight loss in their final year, even when caregivers provide proper nutrition. What's happening isn't simply a matter of eating less. The body undergoes fundamental changes in how it processes food. Metabolism shifts, taste buds become less sensitive, making food less appealing, and the digestive system absorbs fewer nutrients from each meal. Surprisingly, this process actually serves a biological purpose. Rather than being just a troubling symptom, it represents the body's natural preparation process. It's an intentional simplification as the body prepares for its final transition. I understand witnessing this change can trigger anxiety and a strong desire to fix the problem. Many families feel guilty, wondering if they're not providing proper care. Remember that understanding this as part of a natural process can help manage these feelings. When speaking with healthcare providers, try conversation starters like, "Dr. Johnson, I've noticed my father has lost weight without trying. Given his age, could we discuss what this might indicate about his overall health trajectory?" Instead of focusing solely on weight gain, consider comfort-focused nutrition, smaller, nutrient-dense meals, favorite flavors, and making mealtime a pleasant social experience without pressure to clean the plate. Take a moment to consider if you've noticed unexpected weight changes in someone you love. Has their appetite changed? Do their clothes fit differently? Sharing your observations in the comments could help others recognize this important sign. Remember, unintentional weight loss often signals the body's changing priorities and energy conservation, not just a problem to solve, but a process to understand compassionately. As the body conserves energy through changing nutritional needs, you'll notice another significant shift in how your loved one experiences day-to-day activities. Sign 2. Progressive fatigue, when rest no longer restores. As energy conservation becomes a priority, you may notice your loved one experiencing a profound, persistent fatigue, unlike ordinary tiredness. This isn't about needing an afternoon nap. It's a deep weariness that doesn't improve with rest. Richard, an 83-year-old retired engineer from Michigan, had walked 3 miles daily for decades. His son became concerned when Richard began needing to rest, after simply walking to the mailbox. For Mei Lin, a 90-year-old Chinese-American grandmother from California, the change appeared when she stopped tending her beloved garden, saying she just didn't have the energy anymore. What makes this fatigue different from normal aging is its persistence and progression. Activities once enjoyed become overwhelming. Simple tasks require rest breaks. Sleep patterns often change, with more time spent napping or dozing during the day. Here's something surprising. Research shows this energy conservation actually protects vital organs by redistributing limited resources. The body, in its inherent intelligence, prioritizes essential functions while reducing energy to less critical activities. This natural process can be especially challenging in American culture, where we often value staying active and fighting against aging. We celebrate stories of 90-year-olds running marathons, but rarely discuss the importance of honoring the body's natural slowing. Physically, what's happening involves changes in cardiac efficiency. The heart doesn't pump as strongly, reducing oxygen delivery to muscles and organs. Cellular energy production also declines as mitochondria become less efficient. Watching a once active loved one slow down can feel frustrating or sad. You might worry they're giving up or becoming depressed. Recognizing this as a natural biological transition helps shift perspective from resistance to acceptance. When discussing with healthcare providers, try saying, "Dr. Smith, I've noticed my mother seems unusually tired lately, even after resting. Could we discuss if this might indicate a significant change in her condition?" While recognizing these signs may feel overwhelming, understanding them gives you something precious: the ability to provide more meaningful support during this important transition. Did you first notice fatigue changes in your loved one before other signs? Your experience shared in the comments might help others recognize these changes sooner. Remember, progressive fatigue represents the body's intelligent energy conservation, an opportunity to shift from doing to being, focusing on meaningful moments that require less physical exertion. While physical energy visibly decreases, a parallel process happens with mental energy and social engagement, our next critical sign. Sign 3, cognitive changes and social withdrawal, the mind's simplification process. As physical energy changes, you may notice subtle shifts in your loved one's mental sharpness, conversation patterns, and interest in social activities, often before any diagnosis of dementia or cognitive impairment. Barbara, a 91-year-old former librarian from Massachusetts, had completed the New York Times crossword daily for decades. Her family first noticed change when she began leaving puzzles half-finished, saying they were too much trouble. For Robert, an 89-year-old African-American retired principal from Georgia, the shift appeared when he, once the life of every family gathering, began quietly excusing himself from conversations, preferring to sit alone. What appears most concerning is how these changes affect your connection with someone you love. You may notice they lose interest in favorite activities or hobbies, have difficulty following conversations, especially in groups, seem overwhelmed by questions or decisions, withdraw from social gatherings, or spend more time in silence or simple activities. Here's a perspective many find comforting. What appears as withdrawal often represents the mind's attempt to create peace by simplifying input. Much like physical fatigue, mental fatigue signals the brain conserving energy by processing less information. This natural transition can be especially challenging in American society, where we deeply value sharp intellect, independence, and social engagement. We often measure worth by mental capacity, rather than simply valuing presence. Medically, these changes relate to cerebral blood flow reductions and neurotransmitter alterations. The brain, receiving less oxygen and nutrients, prioritizes essential functions while reducing energy to complex processing. These changes can feel like losing someone before they're physically gone. Many family members experience what geriatric specialists call anticipatory grief, the complex emotions of mourning someone who is changing while still physically present. Recognizing this feeling as normal can actually help you connect more authentically during this time. When speaking with healthcare providers, consider saying, "I've noticed Dad seems more withdrawn lately and struggles with conversations he used to enjoy. Could we discuss whether this might be part of a larger change in his condition? Was there a particular moment when you realized your loved one's social or cognitive patterns had changed?" Sharing that moment in the comments could provide valuable insight for others on this journey. Remember, cognitive changes and social withdrawal reflect the mind's natural simplification process, inviting us to connect differently, honoring both who the person was and who they are becoming. As the mind conserves energy by simplifying input, the body similarly redirects resources away from defense systems. Sign 4. Immune vulnerability and diminished healing, when the body's defenses change. As the body conserves energy, another significant change appears in its ability to fight infections and heal from injuries, a quiet but important sign of changing priorities. James, a 90-year-old World War II veteran from Illinois, had always been remarkably healthy. His family became concerned when he developed 3 urinary tract infections in 4 months after never having one in his life. For Elena, an 86-year-old Puerto Rican grandmother from New York, the change appeared when small bruises from bumping into furniture began taking weeks to heal instead of days. You may notice your loved one catches colds, flu, or infections more frequently, takes longer to recover from common illnesses, develops skin tears or bruises from minor contact, has wounds that heal slowly or incompletely, or experiences recurring infections like UTIs or pneumonia. Here's a perspective many find helpful. The body shifts its focus toward comfort rather than defense. Rather than viewing this as failure, consider it part of the natural transition as energy redirects to essential functions. This biological process creates practical challenges within the American healthcare system. Medicare coverage decisions, antibiotic prescriptions, and hospital admissions all become more complex considerations. Many families struggle with when to pursue aggressive treatments versus focusing on comfort. Physically, these changes occur because immune cells become less efficient at identifying and fighting pathogens. Protein synthesis, essential for healing, slows down, and reduced circulation means fewer nutrients reach damaged tissues. The instinct to fight every infection is strong. Many families feel they must pursue every possible treatment to demonstrate their love and commitment. Remember that sometimes honoring comfort becomes more important than pursuing aggressive treatments with diminishing returns. When discussing with healthcare providers, consider saying, "Given these recurring infections despite antibiotics, could we discuss what this might mean about Mom's overall condition and what our priorities should be moving forward? What was the first infection or healing issue you noticed in your loved one that seemed unusual?" Sharing this specific observation in the comments might help others recognize important changes sooner. Remember, increased vulnerability to infection signals changing bodily priorities, inviting thoughtful conversations about when to intervene and when to focus on comfort measures. The changing immune response reflects a broader shift in priorities, now visible in the core systems that sustain life itself. Sign 5. Breathing and circulation changes, the body's natural transition process. The final important sign often appears as subtle changes in breathing patterns and circulation, changes that reflect core life-sustaining systems gently slowing down. Eleanor, an 88-year-old grandmother from Minnesota, puzzled her family when she began wearing sweaters in summer, complaining of cold hands and feet despite warm weather. Miguel, A 92-year-old Hispanic elder from Texas concerned his children when they noticed his breathing pattern changing, sometimes rapid, sometimes with pauses between breaths. You may observe your loved one experiencing consistently cold hands, feet, or nose, regardless of temperature. Skin appearing paler, with a bluish tint to fingertips or lips. Mottled or blotchy coloration on arms or legs. Changed breathing patterns, faster, slower, or with pauses. Increased shortness of breath with minimal activity, or difficulty lying flat, or preference for sleeping in a recliner. Here's an insight many find comforting. These changes represent the body's natural conservation process, directing limited resources to essential functions. Rather than failing, the body is intentionally prioritizing core systems. In the American healthcare context, these changes often prompt important decisions about hospice benefits and palliative care options. Medicare provides extensive hospice coverage that many families don't fully utilize until very late, missing valuable support services. Physically, these changes occur because cardiac output naturally decreases. The heart pumps less blood with each beat. Respiratory control centers adjust, creating different breathing rhythms. The body prioritizes blood flow to vital organs over extremities, causing coldness in hands and feet. While these changes can be concerning to witness, they're rarely uncomfortable for the person experiencing them. The body has remarkable ways of easing this transition, often releasing natural compounds that reduce awareness of physical discomfort. When speaking with healthcare providers, consider saying, "I've noticed changes in Dad's breathing pattern and circulation. Could we discuss what this might mean and what appropriate comfort measures would be most helpful now?" Which breathing or circulation changes first alerted you that something significant was changing? Your observations shared in the comments could help others recognize these important signs. Remember, breathing and circulation changes signal the body's natural transition process, focusing our attention on providing presence, comfort, and honoring preferences during this sacred time. As we've journeyed through these 5 signs together, let's now consider what this understanding means for providing compassionate care in life's final chapter. These 5 signs, weight loss, fatigue, cognitive changes, immune vulnerability, and circulation shifts, aren't random failures, but rather an intentional, coordinated process. The body, in its ancient wisdom, knows how to complete life's journey. Recognizing these changes early gives you precious time, not just for practical preparations, but for heart-to-heart conversations, meaningful moments, and honoring your loved one's wishes for their final chapter. While this journey is never easy, understanding these signs transforms how we approach care. Instead of fighting against nature's process, we can focus on providing comfort, dignity, and loving presence. This knowledge transforms what could be a time of confusion and crisis into an opportunity for profound connection, meaning, and peace. If you've recognized these signs in someone you love, know that you're not alone on this journey. Millions of Americans navigate these waters each year, learning to balance medical intervention with quality of life, finding meaning amid loss, and discovering new ways to connect when old patterns change. If this information helped you, please subscribe for more guidance on navigating life's later chapters with wisdom. Share which sign you first noticed in your loved one in the comments. Your insight may help someone else who's just beginning to recognize these changes. Remember, recognizing these signs isn't about accepting defeat. It's about embracing the opportunity to make every remaining moment count.